Hey, what's going on, everybody? Appreciate you for tuning in. We're back with another episode of Passion and Precision, and obviously have a co-host here, Jory. Jory, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing pretty all right. I can't complain.
Okay, that's good. So, we're gonna get into some interesting topics tonight. I feel like we're gonna kind of have a bit of a somewhat of a change to our format of the show. Hopefully, you like the little switch up. We're gonna definitely dive into some interesting topics. Like I said, we will talk some NBA. We're obviously going to talk some NFL. We've even kind of modified our pick segment at the end as well. So make sure you stay tuned for that. And obviously, we want to hear from you in the chat. So anything we talk about, make sure you go ahead and drop your opinions. Love to hear from you. Love to go back and forth. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into our first topic. So we're going to talk about the NBA. It's been like a week and a half, 2 weeks or so that the season kind of got underway, and I think we're going to talk about some of our early season observations because there are some things that are standing out to both Jory and myself. So we're going to bring that to you, and you kind of let us know some of your opening week observations from around the league as well. But yeah, Jory, I'm going to let you go ahead and fire off the first one.
One, the Clippers are really screwed. Like, you really decided to give Kawhi an extension, and now he's out indefinitely. His knees are acting up because y'all made him play when he's not supposed to be playing, but allegedly.
Mhm.
Allegedly. They're screwed. Because if you're counting on James Harden night in, night out, and the rest of the gang to get anywhere, nah, it's not gonna happen. And I don't feel bad for them because they let Paul George walk, even though Paul George himself is injured. Another thing I noticed is the Nuggets, they're stuck. They're stuck exactly where they are. They're different and not in a good way. Jamal Murray has been horrible against anybody but the Lakers. Michael Porter Jr. isn't playing necessarily too well. The only one we can say is playing well is Jokic consistently. And Russell Westbrook is doing exactly what I thought he was going to do, be a hindrance.
I I do think that's an interesting one because I kind of see where that's coming from. It just looks like they've lost so many bench pieces that now they've reached a point where when Jokic isn't on the court, there isn't like a clear cut guy to handle those minutes and keep production up. I mean, you and I have talked about like Murray since like last postseason, then looking at the Olympics and everything, like he's for whatever reason has taken a step back. Westbrook, I feel like we all were like, what's this going to look like? So far, it's been disastrous with like a few moments where it's like, maybe. And Porter Jr., I say it all the time when I talk about Denver. He is the most important guy to them because he's a gifted scorer. Problem is, he's not that gifted scorer night in and night out. So I definitely follow you on that one. But yeah, I mean, go ahead with your next one.
And I will say my Lakers have been a pleasant surprise. Now, my thought on the little sideshow we got going on is completely different.
Mm-hmm.
But I do like our lineups. I like the fact that they listen to JJ, especially LeBron, because LeBron's older than JJ.
Right.
I'm glad that they buy in. He's playing more. He's playing him putting Rui. Him playing Rui is more of a baseline cutter is really doing something to me. like for good basketball people, when Rui is on, I'm not talking about whatever the hell that was yesterday. That we're not talking about yesterday. He's played well for most, pretty much all 6 games minus that yet one. They played about 6 games, but you know what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
Yesterday don't count. Even though he
I,
made me sick, he was
I
the
think
only
he's
starter playing 30 minutes and giving you 3.9 points.
mm-hmm. I think he's earned it. He's played well. He's allowed a game where he's not completely on. I do think that baseline thing is something that may be somewhat of a copycat thing, only because I feel like JJ Redick called some Celtics games when they forced Drew Holiday to kind of run that baseline action, and it's
Mm-hmm.
just something to your offense when you have guys who can drive and look, depending on the team you're facing. A lot of times, that guy who runs that baseline can find an opening. It's just whether or not there's a passer who's willing to give it to him. So I agree. That is a good wrinkle to go to when maybe you're bogged down a little bit just to get some motion. I agree. JJ has so far, he's passed the test. I feel like that's kind of all you could ask for from him.
And when he did what Darvin Ham used to get on my nerves about doing, he was trying to use LeBron as run it through LeBron all the time.
Mm-hmm.
No, like LeBron is 40. Run the offense through Anthony Davis. And
Yes.
what are we getting?
Yep.
An engaged Anthony Davis who was actually making a point, making a difference. He had
Yeah.
dang near 40 the other day. Was that yesterday? That he put up 38?
I think it was either yesterday or like the game before. But I do agree with
Yeah,
you.
he
I
put up
think
30.
yeah,
So I'm
and that's
like,
always been a big point for them. Play through AD.
if we keep seeing this and he stays healthy, and I shouldn't really be asking if he stays healthy because last year he played like 70 something games,
Mm-hmm.
but it could happen. If he stays engaged mentally and stays on top of it, this Lakers team could be a little surprise. I'm saying I know they was going to be top 8 in the
Mm-hmm.
West. They could be top 5. They're
Okay.
playing like it right now. And we
I
know
mean, look,
that your
that's
Celtics
that's
have
a, that's a big
came out
difference.
swinging.
Mm-hmm.
We know that for a fact. I don't know why Nick Wright is calling how the Celtics play boring. I'm like, was it boring when the Warriors did it? Was it
Nick Wright
boring when
just
Steph
has
and Clay were shooting the lights out? I
exactly.
do like what Clay Thompson, how Clay and Luca kind of play next to each other. I do like that. I did
Mm-hmm.
want to mention that. Dallas, I'm still not completely sold on him, but Clay's finding his rhythm. He's being petty and calling Luca his new Splash brother. I don't like that either, but his feelings are still hurt.
Hey, petty work sometimes. Um, but yeah, I mean, I think for Clay Thompson, his game fits about probably 90% of the teams in the league. So I'm not necessarily surprised that he has been able to find a role playing off of Luca and Kyrie. I'm not surprised by that. I will say for me, observations, the Bucks could be in for a very interesting roller coaster type season. I think some nights they're going to look great. I think there are going to be some troubling nights where they look old and washed. It's just how many of those days will they have, and can they have more of the better games? Because right now it looks like a team that is Giannis and a bunch of unknowns. I mean, Dame put up what, the 4 or 5 point game the other day, and I'm sorry, as great as people like to make Dame out to be, that is never gonna cut it in Milwaukee.
Mm-mm.
Like, he needs to be a 20, 25 kind of guy on a night, because scoring punch, I think, is going to be a question for the Bucks a lot of nights. And the two positives that they need to have are Giannis and Lillard. Everybody else, they can kind of mix and match and try to get something together. But if Lillard is off, the Bucks have basically no chance of being a real competitor. I
I'm
think,
glad
yeah,
that Doc has them running around. I'm glad about that. But with how old they are, we'll see how long that lasts.
but if he's going to keep that up, he needs to force younger players into the rotation. Because if not, he's going to look real foolish about mid-season when
Hmm.
Brooke or Bobby are just dragging through, Wednesday night games, just trying to make it to the end. Because those are guys who aren't built to run 30, 32 minutes a night at their age. So he's going to have to do what he doesn't necessarily like to do, play some young guys, mix them in. If they're playing well, kind of leave them on their heater. If they're struggling, don't necessarily bury them on the bench, but kind of manage the situations that you put them in. I believe if he can do that, then Milwaukee should be okay. Um, the other thing I've kind of noticed, I guess I'll toot the Celtics horn here for a second. They look like a team that's serious about trying to repeat. As difficult as that is to do in today's NBA, they seem like they're equipped to do it. And the scary part is Porzingis comes back in December, and if he can be somewhat healthy once he is in the lineup, then I think the Celtics are probably primed to at least make another deep run in the postseason. I'm not going to sit here right now and say that they're head and shoulders going to win the title, because I do think there are some interesting teams to watch as the season progresses. One is obviously like Oklahoma City, who's gotten off to a really good start, and I think even in the East, like Cleveland is intriguing because I think Cleveland only for this reason, they are kind of making a fundamental switch where they're running more through Mobley. And that was something that I wanted to see because Mobley showed something in the playoffs last season where if you force him to kind of be aggressive, he has the ability to score. Problem is, with Donovan Mitchell on that team, how long do they necessarily go with that? Because we know Donovan Mitchell likes to take over late game situations. But I
I'll
think
see
they're
them in January. Give me till
yes,
January to get me something solid on Cleveland.
yeah.
Because
No,
they
I
come
definitely
out
agree with that.
swinging and then
Mhm.
they start getting all cold and you forget, like, what?
Yeah,
Give me till
I,
January on them.
I think that's fair. Because last season we did see Mitchell and Garland struggle to play together. Mobley kind of went off when Allen was out, so we got to see those two play together and consistently see Mobley succeed. But I'm just saying, for right now, I think they're intriguing. Like I said, I'm not going to bet on them to win the East or anything like that. I think if they play the right way, they are an interesting team in the East. I guess last observation would be the teams that we kind of assumed were going to be really bad are really they are just bad.
I still just
Like,
trash.
yeah, I've seen Washington a few times. Look, Jordan Poole on a lot of nights is going to score 30, and they're going to lose by like 25. Like that's just what they are. It seems like Jordan Poole's having fun doing that. More power to him. He's putting up numbers. Have yourself a ball. Speaking of ball, I I know some people have said the Hornets could be like a sneaky playing team. I can't buy into that because they're kind of the same thing as Washington. LaMelo Ball's going to score like 30. At least for them, they might lose by only like 15, not necessarily 30. In Atlanta, like poor Atlanta. Like I know how much Atlanta fans want the Hawks to be good. Newsflash, you are in for
They're
another long season. You're a 10th seed at best. At best. And Trey Young will give you your moments with the shoulders and all that, but they are not going to be a good team. Sorry. They just are. Hey, Trajan, what's going on? No, he's talking about his Badgers. That interception, yes, the Badgers interception was pretty bad. And Trajan's also a Bucks fan who says also the Bucks suck, but still going to the finals. I love the
I love the
fandom.
enthusiasm.
Yes. I will say, with Giannis, they're not completely out of it. The question is just going to be how many of these guys will be able to be running alongside of him and not necessarily him dragging them along. That's going to be the key for the Bucks. Uh, here we go. I think Trey just kind of venting about Badger football.
Yeah, here we
Another
go.
good night against Iowa. He's throwing a pick at every single start.
I get
Hey,
it.
Trajan, look, if this is what you need to vent on
I,
Wisconsin, bruh, the chat is all yours. It's all for you. Because
I
I
get
get
it.
it.
Because watching Milrow for the past few weeks has been.
Yeah. I've had to watch BC blow two big leads and find ways to lose them. And now they're like 4-4.
At
They're
least they
going
got
really well.
themselves together against Missouri. I'm like, they didn't give Missouri a chance.
Well, Trajan's already written them off, called them garbage already. He's garbage. I tweet out I'm getting used to political text and lock turnovers.
Yeah.
To play on, death taxes and whatever. Okay, I get it. Hey, Trajan, look, maybe Luck bounces back next week, and you're feeling good about him. Because the Badgers are what? I think they're a 5-win team. Hey, just get them one more. Get bowl eligibility.
At least you're not Florida State.
They are a hot mess. Tragic what's happened to that. Well, not really.
And DJ, you gotta be freaking kidding me.
That guy stinks. I don't understand. We haven't had a quarterback since Wilson. Yeah, that was a weird time. Russ going from NC State to Wisconsin, but he was really good at Wisconsin, like really good at Wisconsin. We play Oregon next week. Good luck. Good luck with that. Oregon's tough. We lose to Iowa. We're getting slapped by Oregon. It'll be over in the first quarter.
Don't be
Wisconsin.
negative, Trajan. It's any game could happen.
Yes, but Oregon's really good.
Even though I think
Oregon's,
Oregon is a little
I mean,
that
Oregon
offense
is
is a little
Oregon's as
frustrating.
advertised. Spread you out, play really fast. That's not going to necessarily that doesn't necessarily play well for Wisconsin. Wisconsin likes slowing it down, dragging them out, fights. That's not Oregon. Oregon just blitzes you with waves of wide receivers and running backs. Wisconsin sports get your hopes up to tear you down every single year. Well, you can look forward to Brewers baseball next year.
Tried for the most part being a Georgia-based sports fan. Look, as a former Falcons fan, I had to stop watching that crap.
Yeah,
The Hawks. Need I say anything else?
yeah.
The Braves are the best run sports organization we have. Are the Braves. That's it. And
Absolutely.
maybe Atlanta United.
Yeah. Although Atlanta United is probably about to get eliminated by Miami, but hey, they made the
We've had
playoffs.
a championship.
Yes.
The Falcons
Yeah.
have Super Bowl and Falcons are allergic to each other. Especially since they blew the one that they were in.
Hey, you got Kirk Cousins this year, Mister. You like that?
We'll see what
Anything
happens
happens.
wild card
I
round,
know.
and then
Um, yeah. So we were just talking about some NBA opening week observations. Like I said, it's very early on. Some trends are sort of developing, but I think we can move on to our next topic because, like I said, we'll be making more observations for sure. Let's get into some NFL. So something new that we're gonna do. You all know Jory is a Titans fan. I'm a Pats fan. We will be giving you our team reports going into the weekend. Oddly enough, our teams meet this weekend. So what does that mean for next week's show? Who knows? Like I don't know. We'll see. But Jory, we're gonna start with you. Give us the Titans report that we need going into the weekend.
the mood is make it stop. I'm tired. I'm. T- it has been a rough season. Will is not gonna play. I'm tired of seeing Mason Rudolph. Like I thought I was tired of seeing Will turn the football over, but I'm tired of looking at Mason Rudolph. I'm just tired at this point. And the special teams, my God, I feel like, in all honesty, the defense is still a top five, top 10, top five defense. The main reason why the scores say the way that they are is because of the special teams. That coach does not know what he's doing. I am tired of just seeing people just. I'm just seeing other opposing teams just get chunk yardage after chunk yardage off of punts, punt returns, and kick returns and whatnot. I'm tired. I'm tired. But my defense is playing well. And granted, I understand DeAndre Hopkins is a chief now, but look, offensive line. Nicholas Petit Frere needs to go ahead and become a fantasy expert full time and stop wasting time on my line. Every time I see him, I cry. Every time. I'm like, because he's always blowing a damn drive, getting a penalty. Skaronski needs to do better too, because he's been getting penalized as well. Everybody's going through growing pains. When Will was out there, he was going through them stupid ass growing pains, killing drives, and doing Spider-Man slingshots. I don't think that's an option. Ryan Tannehill is on his couch and he's not answering his phone unless the price is right. He's had people call him. If the situation ain't right, he ain't going for it. Um,
So there is a comment for you. Are you here with Will Levis? Uh, where is it? Why is it not? Why is it not?
um,
There we go. Are you here
no.
with okay.
At Will's problem is the mistakes that he makes are just, and he don't make them too often. He don't make them too often. It's just the ones that he do make, they just blow your mind. Like it's not he he's not boom or bust like Anthony Richardson. The mistake, it's just when he does make a mental mistake, it's at the worst time. He does the most memeable reaction after it, like, what the hell are you doing, Will? I don't think he's necessarily a bust. I just think there are some things that he needs to work on, like his decision making at critical points in the game. And recovering from his mistakes. Because it's like when one happens, you know multiple are going to happen. Play the game. Don't let the game play you.
So I'm assuming you would give him, like, I guess if he came back this year, you'd give him this year. Would you start the season next year with him as the starter?
It depends on what we do in the draft, to be honest.
Okay. So would you be mad if Callahan drafted a quarterback?
No.
Okay. Okay. Would it matter where he drafts him?
Yes. Because if he goes first round and drafts a quarterback, I don't want to see Will Levis.
Okay.
If
I
he
think that's
goes
fair.
first round.
Okay.
Now, if they go first round and get another tackle, good. Because offensive linemen, granted, they're pretty good right now. It's just the right side with Nicholas Petit Frere and Jalen Duncan and company. That's another reason why I'm really not upset the fact that Will is not necessarily playing well when you have Nicholas Petit Frere as a right tackle who just messes up your drives.
Mm-hmm.
And I get the turnovers. With the same thing goes with Josh Allen. You got to live with it. Like people tell me all the time about Josh Allen, you have to live with his turnovers and his risk taking. I'm like, I've seen him make some very special plays. I'm talking about Levis. I've seen him do it. I've also seen him make me cry on a play. Like where we were as a team and where we were as a coaching staff. And it's a little ignorant to say that. I believe it's an observation to say in hindsight, but that's how I know you're not paying attention. Green Bay has the quarterback and coaching staff already in place that doesn't have to go through growing pains to develop a backup quarterback. They haven't. They traded him there for that reason.
Yeah, if you watch Malik Willis, like he's more decisive. That's the one thing I've seen because I saw him in Tennessee. He would drop back and he would just be like a kid in a candy store, like not knowing what to do, and that's where he got in trouble. Green Bay, when he drops back, he puts that plant foot down. He's making a decision whether he's taking off or he's making a pass. So I think Green Bay gets a lot of credit for that. Absolutely.
They have a more established coaching staff. Mine is going through growing pains. This is their first year doing all of this crap. So of course
Mm-hmm.
he's gonna look better. That is obvious. It's I thought this year would go a little bit better than it has. One, we should have won the Jets game. We should have beat the Colts. And I will say last year, some of these games we would have won had we had eh, the same people from last year. But I understand that this team is also in transition. It's not going to be pretty all the time. But the special teams, though, that makes me turn off the game at halftime. I'm like, cut this crap out.
So I guess question would be, how confident are you in this game this weekend? And what's the key to victory for the Titans?
Mess it up. My offensive line the right side needs to let us maintain a drive. Tony Pollard, I'm not worried about him because I'm good. We're pretty good at run blocking. Pass blocking, decent. Again, penalties. And I'm just tired of looking at Mason Rudolph. I know he's capable of making throws. We just need to play a complete game. We do that, we can win this game. I know my defense is going to play a complete game. I'm just not sure about the rest of it.
Okay. All right. I feel like look, I feel like that was so that's Jory's Titans report. And obviously, now I'm gonna go ahead and give the other side of it. Like I said, our teams play this week. So let's go ahead get into the Pats report. So for me, look, I'm glad to hear that Drake May has made it through concussion protocol and is slated to start on Sunday. I think that's good for him. It's good for the team, even though Jacoby Brissett played really well last week, got them the win with a few plays downfield. But I just feel like Drake May is just trending in the right direction. Now, what I want to see is his wide receivers not have a case of the drops. Because last week, even though they did win that game early on, it looked ugly because Drake May was putting the ball in perfect position for Patriots wide receivers to make plays, and they were dropping basically everything until later on they started making plays. So I want to see that development. I also think this might be the first week where Javon Baker gets legit reps on offense, and I'm interested to see if there's a moment on the field where we have May with his weapons being Pop Douglas, Baker, Booty. I want to see how those three can coexist on the field, and if Drake May can, especially with Baker, because I do want to see Baker on offense. I think it could be interesting. Now, you did talk about the Titans defense. For a Patriots offensive line that I do think has played a little bit better the past couple of weeks as they kind of kept the same five starting linemen in the lineup. I feel like they're playing a little bit better. Are they great by any stretch of the imagination? No. Are they even average? Might be a stretch, but I think they're playing better. So I want to see what they do against the Titans front seven because they are tough. And then on the flip side, I think Tony Pollard's had a really good season. And at times, the Patriots' rush defense can be a little shaky, especially since Bentley got hurt and was lost for the season. It's like the run defense really took a dip after that. So I need to see them play better against the team in Tennessee that's not going to be afraid to just run the ball. If that's working for them, they will stick with it. So I guess once again the same thing I asked you. Percent chance I get the Patriots this week. I definitely feel better about them with Drake May. I will say that. The O line I will be watching carefully because if they allow May to have time in the pocket, I think May can make some plays, even with his legs. I hope he doesn't take that out of his game because of the one concussion. I just wanted to be a little bit more careful. Plus, that hit from the Jets player was borderline. I do think Drake May slid a little late, but it is what it is. So the key to the game for me is going to be the run defense. I want to see them really focus on the rush lanes, make it harder on Tony Pollard, and force Mason Rudolph to beat them with his arm. I feel that's going to be the best position for the Patriots to win. There we go. That's my Pats report. Okay, let's keep it moving. Now we're gonna get into some like NFL player stuff, starting with Anthony Richardson, who was benched in Indy. And I feel like it's now become a big talking point about not only that situation, but like young quarterbacks on a whole, their situation within the league. So Like, what are your thoughts with Richardson, with Indy, with rookie quarterbacks? Like, what do you think about all that in the NFL right now?
Before I even go there, Rod, we're talking
Okay.
about something else. Get on task. Stay on task. Comment about relevant things that we're talking about. Like we're talking about Anthony Richardson. We haven't mentioned Titans in about 5 minutes. Let's drop it. Anyway, with Anthony Richardson, one, the Colts deserve this. Whatever happens to them just happens. But with Anthony Richardson, a plethora of things can be true in this case. And we could say a lot of things about the young quarterbacks as recently. But with him specifically, he wasn't playing well from the get go. He's wildly inconsistent. He's completing less than 50% of his passes. Also, they drafted him knowing he was a project quarterback. Of course, he's going to look horrible at times. So, exactly what they were doing by drafting him. Now, I will say, him tapping out of that game versus Houston 100% changed some people's perception of them within their organization. And they can't lie and act like everything's all sunshine and rainbows and say that it isn't either. Like it definitely changes. Just some people just won't be open about it. But when it comes to them benching him and starting Joe Flacco, that means they're trying to win something. My biggest question to that is what exactly are you trying to win? A participation trophy? A Pro Bowl ticket? Like, what are we doing? Because they're not a Super Bowl contender.
Mm-hmm.
They might be able to sneak in the playoffs. But again, the AFC South is proving my prediction. Only one of those teams is getting into the playoffs. And then they already split with Houston.
I believe they did. Hold on, I can tell you. They were swept by Houston.
Yeah, they've been swept by Houston. They're not winning the division. The NFL does have an issue when it comes to developing young quarterbacks because they have such a if they're drafted high enough to where they have to start right away, they're put on a pedestal. They're expected to be able to just carry a team off rip. And sometimes it takes people a little bit longer. Some organizations aren't necessarily as well built. And coaching is also very important. Example, if you go from having a pretty decent quarterback coach and quarterback or offensive coordinator to having a defensive coordinator and special teams coordinator as an offensive coordinator, of course you're going to stunt a young quarterback's development. I don't mean to shoot shots, but they ruined him with that. Quarterback, your young quarterback with Pro Bowlers and people who've been to Super Bowls and a whole bunch of talent and good quality mid to late round draft picks, of course he's going to look good. He's surrounded with talent. And if you don't surround him with talent, and if you surround him with old, aging veterans, no offensive linemen, receivers with the dropsies, he's going to look trash. So it's like the NFL as a whole doesn't have a problem developing. It's their young quarterbacks. It's the dysfunctional teams that don't know how to operate a franchise. that have problems developing quarterbacks, which is why they're always looking for one. Cough, cough, Jets. Cough, cough, Panthers. Cough, cough, Browns.
And that's fair because I do think that a lot of it is because if you take a quarterback in the first round, you get like that 5 year window where you're not paying him a lot. I think for some teams, the urge is to rush the quarterback out there to maximize that 5 year window, while some quarterbacks just aren't at that level. And like you said, and like everybody knew, Richardson was a project quarterback coming into this. So I think when dealing with Richardson, there was only two schools of thought needed. Either you sat him the first year and maybe even a second year, allow him to develop and learn behind a vet. Or the second school is you throw him out there because you understand your team isn't winning anything of significance right away and let him work through his issues, hoping that, yeah, he may have a rough rookie season, may even have a bad sophomore season, but hopefully by his third year, he's a polished quarterback. And now you're looking at years 3, 4, and 5 where you really go all in and try to maximize them. Problem is, a lot of teams don't want to exercise that kind of patience because their fan base may not be patient through that. And some of these owners won't allow the team to be that patient developing a young quarterback that they took so high and got a lot of fans excited to see. What's going on, Mo? Appreciate you tuning in.
Mm.
So I think it's tricky when you're looking at this, and not every young quarterback's the same. Like I said, because for every Jaden Daniels who started day one and looked great, there is the Richardsons or these other guys that go out there week one. You see their deficiencies and understand they're not going to win at a high enough level right now to warrant where they were drafted. Most says that type of patience is a thing of the past.
Yep.
True, and that's one of the unfortunate parts is that there's this need for instant gratification, and like if Richardson hasn't shown that he's good right now, there's going to be some talk about the Colts like cutting ties with him and going back into the draft and getting a new young quarterback, which I doubt they actually do that, but this time with Flacco starting might be either the best thing for Richardson and he actually sits back, watches Flacco, develops that accuracy, the issues that he's had all season, or it completely breaks him. And over the summer, we're hearing rumblings about maybe he wanting out or Indy trying to get out from underneath him. So that's what these next, I don't know, what, 8 or so weeks in the season, that's going to be an interesting part. And even a third one is if Flacco isn't what the Colts expect him to be, will they turn back to Richardson later in the season? And even that itself might be really dangerous to do.
Yeah, because you don't want to be flip flopping and playing around with your quarterback. Like if they're gonna stick with Flacco, they better stick with Flacco when he's playing well.
Mm-hmm.
And we know what he did towards the end of his tenure at Cleveland. He started turning the ball over a lot. He's 40. Of course that's gonna happen. What are we getting from Mr. Aaron Rodgers? Turnovers.
Mm-hmm.
So they have to stick with him through good Flacco and bad Flacco. Anthony Richardson wasn't that good in college. He barely played in high school. The Colts drafted him that high in the first round knowing that. And now they're looking surprised with egg on their face when Shane Steichen decides to bench him because the moment is clearly too big for him. And he's coming back from injury. So what they're gonna do is definitely what they did with Andrew Luck, which is ruin him, and they deserve it. They deserve it.
I mean, look, at least like Luck was seen as a can't miss prospect. Like we said, Richardson is a project. Rod is going on, as he said, had accuracy problems at Florida. College coaches are not developing quarterbacks. And I think there is a little bit of truth to that because when you see like every college quarterback is basically the same, it's a lot of RPO and a lot of scrambling around, which works in college, doesn't necessarily work in the NFL unless you're just crazy athletic. And a lot of these mobile quarterbacks are coming into the league and finding that a lot of these defensive coordinators are smarter than they are in college and will say, okay, you want to run outside the pocket? Well, guess what? We're going to bracket you and force you to stay in the pocket. Now, what are you going to do? And a lot of these quarterbacks get scared. And that's where you see them get out of character and turn the ball over because they're not used to that look from pros. So I do think Rod has a point about college coaches. I mean, look, because college coaches are under the same pressure to win, and they're going to run whatever system works for that college, not necessarily what system prepares that quarterback for the next level. Because at that point, it's the NFL's job to either build a system around him or develop that quarterback into whatever.
Mm.
So I think it kind of works both ways. But I see what you're saying, Rod, about college coaches because some of these guys are fighting for their own job. Mo said Richardson is a combine baby. That's Ballard's guy.
And
And
this
look,
is
that's
what they
another
get
thing.
for falling in love with a combine freak. He was a freak of an athlete at the combine. You draft him at how you draft him in the first round. He was a first round draft pick, right?
Yeah, he went. What did he go like? I want to say he went like fifth overall. That might be a little high, but yeah,
See, and
he was top part of the first round. Yeah, yeah.
he had been struggling to complete the ball in college. We saw all of this coming in college, and you drafted him fifth overall, all because he runs fast and he's very strong. This is exactly what you get. And the offensive line is overpaid and overrated. I just wanted to put that out there.
Okay. Because I did just ask the chat, what is Richardson's ceiling? Because I think that might be important for Indianapolis to look themselves in the mirror and
I
actually
don't know.
define what Richardson is.
Do we even have one? It's
Okay, so
hard
obviously,
to.
if you see mobile quarterback, you think of Cam, you think Lamar, you think Patrol says Taysom Hill.
That means he need to switch positions. He don't need to be a starting quarterback then. Find something else to do.
I mean, Taysom Hill's interesting. So maybe if he's Taysom Hill without the versatility, is that good enough?
And then once you start stinking it up, it'll get you benched.
Mo co-signs it. So apparently, the consensus so far is Richardson's going to be Taysom Hill.
That means he
Yeah,
doesn't need to be a starting quarterback. That means he needs to be a tight end and get packages. That means
right.
he's a bust for where he was drafted. Oh, Ursay stinks.
Yeah, I mean that's yeah. For drafting that high to say he's Taysom Hill's not necessarily what you want. Yeah.
Wait a minute.
So
Like,
Rod, I think this is a good point where because Rod was saying where college coaches aren't developing them. There are a lot of quarterbacks that come into the league that can't take a snap under center, which is kind of wild, but it's because most colleges are running pistol, shotgun, or some variation of that.
mm-hmm.
So I think that's an interesting point, Rod. Let's see. Cottrell says he has the versatility, just can't trust him to run your offense every play.
And you drafted him fifth overall, and you can't trust him to run your offense every play. Talk about Mr. Mark.
Hey, Cottrell's throwing the word out there for
Because it's
sure.
like when you
But
watch him
for where he was
play,
drafted.
it's like when he makes these wow plays, it's like wow. And then it's like, wow, you can't make the basic stuff.
Yeah,
You make the plays that 90% of people can't make, but you miss the stuff that 90% of people can.
yeah.
Like, what?
I mean, here's his numbers for retrospect. 59 for 133, which I believe that's like 43% completion percentage. That's wild. 958 yards, 4 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, and a rating of 57.2.
So is the only one worse than him Deshaun Watson or Will Levis is worse than him? I want to figure that out. Hold on.
Okay.
I gotta pull my laptop out.
I mean,
But you can keep talking about
with numbers like that, like for Richardson, could Richardson be? I don't even know how comparable they are in terms of height and weight, but remember Logan Thomas was a college quarterback who became a tight end. It was pretty decent. I don't know if Anthony Richardson could make that transformation because I do think Logan Thomas was bigger. Like Logan Thomas was a big guy.
if he want to stay in this league, he gonna do whatever it takes.
I wonder if that conversation happens in the offseason. Do the Colts go to him and say, would you consider a position change? Just to see what he says.
Oh, if they do that, they gonna break him early.
Cottrell said, yeah, Logan Thomas was huge. Yeah, because I couldn't remember Anthony Richardson's measurements. I didn't think he was as big as Logan Thomas. Like Logan Thomas was huge. Cottrell said on our show Wednesday that reminds me of the Tebow season when he was in Denver. He can wow you with the big plays, but you have no idea where the ball is going when he throws it. I think that's fair. I mean, Tebow did win a playoff game, which we know is like his career highlight, but I mean, he wasn't a good quarterback. But 59 for 133. And Joe Flacco's numbers 71 for 108. So that's going to be like 69%, 68, 69%.
Oh,
He
it
has
is Anthony
716
Richardson.
yards, 7 touchdowns, 1 interception. 102 rating for Joe Flacco.
Let's see. Anthony Richardson, 57.2. The lowest QBR. Attempts 159.7 yards per game. Will Levis has a better QBR than him by at least 13 points.
I mean, that definitely says
All
something.
over.
You know what's the crazy thing? That with all this, the Colts are 4-4 and are a half game behind the Chargers for the last wild card spot. So if you're Ursay and you're looking at that, you're thinking Flacco could Flacco lead you to a better record from here on out than the Chargers? They're only a game behind the Ravens and the Broncos. I feel like they're probably looking at the Broncos as a team that maybe has played a little bit over their head who could fade. So if the Colts think that they could, replace them in the wild card while dealing with the Bengals right behind them, the Jets are right behind them as well. I think they're in a tricky spot. Are they good enough to jump at one of those teams? Or is this where they're going to kind of be all season, hover around 500, be in the conversation, but not necessarily enter the wild card?
I think they'll do some funny stuff and find themselves out of the playoffs.
Okay.
And I can't stand if the Colt. That's why I'm like with the AFC South, whoever wins the division, that's the only team
That gets in.
that's going to the playoffs.
Okay.
And I just, yeah, no, their rush defense is poor.
Well, look, we will mark this point in the season down, and however the Colts season plays out, we will look to this point and see if Flacco made any difference. Let's get to another topic. So I know this one was one that you wanted to bring up, Micah Parsons. So I'll let you introduce to everybody watching what Micah Parsons has done now.
Look, it's not even about exactly what he's done now. It's just the fact that he's on his damn podcast running his goddamn mouth and he's not even playing. Like, bro. No, it is a few things that he's already said. I'm not even mad that he left Dak off, him and Trayvon left Dak off the thing. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not mad. Dak is not playing well. And they said for right now, ESPN overplayed that. What they should have said is, this is the game of the year for the Falcons. Oh, what?
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like they probably have bigger games coming up
And
than this one.
you're acting like the Cowboys are just such somebodies that this is the game of the year for the Falcons. Who are you and why are you being delusional?
Right. Considering that they have games coming up against the Vikings and the Commanders still on their schedule. But I guess this
This
game
is the
against the
game of
Cowboys
the
proves
year.
something about the Falcons for some reason.
This is the game of the year for the Falcons. Okay, so the Falcons have looked better, even with Kirk playing like Kirk in one or two games. We all saw that. But Kirk has also been clutch, and he's outplayed Dak Prescott. Game of the year. Like the Falcons are a scrub compared to the Cowboys, and the Cowboys are just supposed to be something. Stop being delusional. And the thing is, he's running his mouth, and he's not even playing. Can you focus on stopping the run a little bit better? They were horrible with you there. You and DeMarcus, they were horrible with you. But they're worse now. And you're just running your mouth. And he gets it from Jerry Jones. I promise you, he gets it from Jerry Jones. He doesn't watch his he does not watch his words. He's very reckless. He's delusional, and he doesn't realize when to shut up and provide no comment. Don't that remind you of Jerry Jones?
Oh, absolutely. There's not a camera or microphone in the world that Jerry Jones will not stop in front of.
We're close. And last year it was we're close to the 49ers after the 49ers broke their foots off up in them. After, and the fact that he's talking, and they went against the 49ers. And still lost. And I don't want to hear about injuries because the 49ers were more injured than the Cowboys were. I don't want to hear about injuries because the Cowboys weren't no good without those players anyway. They weren't no good with them. It didn't make that much of a difference. So what does that tell you about you, Micah? Podcast Parsons, like, come on. And he's delusional. Mind you, the fact that you're injured. And I think it's starting to become a distraction because it's bringing more unwarranted attention to the team and to the locker room. And at what point is everybody going to be exasperated? We already know some of his teammates are annoyed by his foolishness. We know that. But everything he says is either delusional or it turns into a headline. It's going to affect the locker room eventually. I mean, instead of podcasting so much, learn how to stop the run a little bit better. Learn how to. Why do people like to run right at you? Why, Michael? Why? They run right at you. They know the biggest weakness if they want to stop you to run right at you and not to block you.
That's yeah. I just looked up the number. They're giving up 155 yards on the ground a game. Like
That's
that's
why they
crazy.
stink. I'm like, and you have nothing on offense, and man, you have Michael Parsons talking like he's the best thing since sliced bread. If I can run right at you, you're not that good, sweetheart. If I don't have to block you to beat you, you're not that good in that phase. Now, I'm not saying Michael Parsons isn't a good player in general. He just, his mouth just write a whole bunch of checks that his team can't cash, and it gets on my nerve. And I know it's going to keep going because Jerry is not going to say anything about it. Because Jerry is a loose cannon. His self. Michael Parsons is the body of everything that's wrong with the Dallas Cowboys. They're all delusional.
Yeah, I mean, look, this weekend, game of the year, as some people are saying, the 3-4 Cowboys face the 5-3 Falcons. There's a chance for the Cowboys to get to 500, which, as bad as their season has been, that would actually be a step in the right direction, just getting to 500. But yeah, there's glaring weaknesses all over that team. Their offense hasn't really been all that explosive most weeks. The run game's been non-existent. I mean, it's kind of unfair, I should say, for your running back room to be Zeke Elliott and Dalvin Cook. Yeah, that would
Oh,
have been
Zeke is
great.
not playing.
Well, yeah,
He got
well,
in
I'll just say
trouble.
like that's who they were relying on, Zeke and
Mm-hmm.
Dalvin Cook, which maybe 5 years ago would have been legit, but 2024, wild. I know a lot of people love to bring up the Derrick Henry aspect that they did not want to pursue him, and this is what you're stuck with. Dak has been he's been there. He's been there. That's all you can really say.
He's
And
not
like
the
you said,
big. He's not the biggest issue,
right, but
but
he is an issue.
he is an issue.
Yeah, and the defense, seemingly what a couple of seasons ago, a lot of people said it's one of the best defenses in the league. 2024, they are one of the worst, and it's been a transformation that they should do a 30 for 30 on. How bad this defense has gotten so quickly. So,
Because now they
hey,
can't stop the pass. They can't stop the run. They can't make a tackle. I'm
mm-hmm.
like, dang, Dallas, make Detroit say ow. Like what Detroit did to him. I'm like, I'm like, damn. And then my team had to turn around and bear the brunt of the Lions. That was not fair. Dan, look, we did nothing to you.
Yeah,
Dropping
so, hey,
50 for no reason. You didn't need to do all of that. Look, just because Dallas pissed Dan Campbell off, everybody else got to pay. Because they wanted to wait bye-bye last year in the game that they got away from. They got away from
mm-hmm. I mean, unfortunately, it kind of fits Dan Campbell's personality.
them. MO.
Yeah, like I respect it. I mean, I had to
I do.
watch. I mean, I had to watch Belichick allow his teams to drop like 60 on people and hear the constant whining from media people about, oh, it's running up the score and all that. So Dan Campbell, I like the mentality, and it's one of the reasons why the Lions are intriguing. But I guess just to wrap it up for this topic, let's see what Dallas does, and it wouldn't necessarily be not the most Falcons thing to allow the
To lose.
Cowboys to hang in
Yeah.
this game and beat them late. So maybe we will learn something about the Falcons and the Cowboys on Sunday. That game being 1 o'clock p.m. So we will see how that goes. And next topic, Mo, if you're still in here, this one is kind of surrounding your team. Good old Nick Bosa made some news by his, I guess we'll say his antics the other night when they were talking to Brock Purdy after the game with George Kittle, and he, came in from off screen, rocking his political hat, the MAGA hat, and went to the press conference podium after the fact with a different hat on. Didn't want to talk about it, and as probably was expected, his jersey sales went up. Whatever, because yeah, it's kind of the climate of the world right now. So I think where this story is intriguing is fans' reactions, because we know from the same organization, from a player a couple of seasons ago with Kaepernick, it was about politics should not be a part of sports, but yet in this case, they're fine with it. So I'm trying to think of how to phrase this question necessarily, because obviously you don't want to turn it into a political question, because Nick Bosa, like when you hear him talk and some of the stuff he's done, doesn't come across as like some Mensa member. Just gonna say, but I, I guess the simple question would be, how much of a problem on a scale of 1 to 10 did you have with Nick Bosa?
A million. And here's why. Do that crap on your own time. Don't sit here and take Brock Purdy's time to shine and sit here and point at your shiny little hat. And then when you have it on your own time, I don't want to talk about it. You idiot. You wanted to talk about it and you wanted to flaunt it when it wasn't your turn. But now that it is your turn, I don't want to talk about it. I feel like it's something that I'm strongly standing for. Whatever the quote was. Then you have look, LeBron James had they asked him about him endorsing a certain presidential candidate. He stood on it. The way he answered that question, he stood on it. All
Mm-hmm.
I'm asking you, Nick Bosa, is to stand on business. We already know what you are. I already know what you are. An attention seeking coward who, when you're putting your foot to the flame, you don't want to talk about it. But you want to do the actions that say, oh, look at me. Da 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 da. And he did it to Kittle. He didn't do it just to Purdy. He did it to Kittle
Yeah,
too, and Kittle looked annoyed. He was just going around showing his hat off. I don't care that he is what he is. I care that he didn't do that crap on his own time in his own interview. That when it was his time to shine, he was singing a whole different tune,
mm-hmm.
wanting to upstage his teammates. Like, come on, dude.
Yeah,
Be a teammate instead of being a meathead.
right. And because I guess that is the ironic part of it. He introduced that topic into the post game press conference because he's the one that got the hat from somewhere, off on the sideline or from a fan, walked back onto the field to display it. If he had never done any of that, he wouldn't get asked about it. Because look, we saw when Brady, he had the hat like in his locker, that became a story. And even that's like in the locker room. That's your locker. Those are your personal belongings. I mean, yes, it was put in there in a way that it was facing out. I get that, but that's different than you taking your helmet off, going to the sideline, putting it on, coming back on. At that point, you can no longer play the card of, I don't want to talk about it. You introduced it to the conversation. So you either, you know, stand on business and explain it, talk about, just make a statement. You don't necessarily have to stand there and take question after question about it, but at least make a statement as to why, or why, like why you feel that way, whatever. If he had done that, I could say, I or any fan could say, I don't agree with you, but hey, at least you explained your position. But the tactic that he took, I don't think on either side you necessarily respect that. And like that's the problem I have, because now it comes across like you did it. You're probably in the back. Some team official probably got to you and was like, yeah, not cool. Don't engage in the post game presser. And then that's what it looks like now. And I'm
They
not even
probably
going to sit
told him
here.
how divisive that was. I'm like, bruh, you
Some would say,
realize that your
shouldn't you
team
know
is
that?
based in California. Your team is based in California. That was incredibly divisive.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
Yeah,
like, it's already divisive enough.
yeah. And look, like I said, 2024, we understand it's a big political year. So, like I said, I don't have an issue whether you agree with him or not. Like you're allowed to believe in what you believe in, but then to play like ignorance or try to act like we didn't see what we saw, that is probably the biggest problem with it. So I'm assuming we probably don't see the hat again. One and two, I guess that's kind of the only one. I assume we don't see the hat, and I guess we probably will assume that he probably won't talk about his stance at any point this season.
Even
Maybe.
though we already know it.
Right.
He ain't got to
Now,
say anything.
it'll be interesting though if after Tuesday, if it goes the way he's obviously wanting it to, will he have something to say then? That will
Probably.
be, because that will bring it up again. I guess depending, no matter what the result is Tuesday, there's going to be a reporter that now will feel like, he's kind of opened the door for this. I could, swing back around and see if I can get an answer out of him. Because some of these reporters are not afraid to push the buttons of athletes.
And I'd say he did it to himself.
And I think mostly everybody would agree that that's absolutely fair. All right. I guess anything you want to add about Bosa, or you want to move on?
I said my piece.
Yeah, exactly. What's going on, Bella? Let's get into picks. So once again, pick segment's going to be a little different from here on out. Normally we, pick every game. But we're going to do it differently. We're going to do our 3 picks and an upset. Um, I unfortunately didn't get the graphic with our standings. It'll be back next week. But do you have your 3 picks and your upset already?
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead and let them fly.
So my 3 picks is
All right.
Commanders over Giants.
Commanders seem to always answer the bell. Okay.
Now watch this be the 1 week they fail me. Um, Eagles over Jags,
Okay.
and I'm gonna go to the well here, and I'm gonna say my Titans over the Patriots. My upset. You already know where I'm going.
I think I do.
Broncos over Ravens.
I mean, hey,
Lamar
Stay
Jackson's
consistent.
hurt.
That is actually a an interesting development. He's missed some practice time with not only a knee but a back
A
issue.
back.
Okay.
And Denver has a good defense, and they stopped the run pretty fairly well.
Like my only question about that one is, can Denver's pass attack that Ravens secondary that we just saw give up 334 yards to Jameis Winston?
Knowing Sean Payton, he gonna try.
It's smart too to try.
And he done already had Bo Nix throw the ball 50 times in a game once. I would not be surprised if we see
That
that
is
again.
that is very true. He absolutely did do that. All right, so let me make sure I got your picks correctly. So I know you went Titans over Patriots.
Mm-hmm.
Then you went Commanders over Giants.
Hold on, I'm almost done. And then you can get off my lap. I'm not opening my door right now.
And I will remember to put these up on the Integrity Sports page as well as our uh, Tumblr. You went upset Broncos over Ravens, which if that happens, it'll be an interesting Monday morning. And you took Eagles over the Jags. Okay. Those are four solid picks. All right. So for me, I feel like only because our teams are playing, I was going to pick that game as well. I'm going to take the Patriots over the Titans. I will also go with this is a game that probably people normally wouldn't pick, but I'm going to go ahead and do it. I'm going to take the Lions over the Packers, even though I could see either team winning that one. But I just think that the Lions are going to be really physical, really tough. There are some questions about Jordan Love, which I don't think I've seen an update necessarily on whether or not he's going to play. He's dealing with a groin injury. I know there's been a lot of talk about whether or not you kind of just sit him anyway because they have their bye week coming up. But it's
Mm-hmm.
tough to do that when you're dealing with a divisional opponent. So I think it'll be interesting to see whether or not Jordan Love plays in that one. Um, I think my third pick is going to be. What did I have here? Okay. I may be wrong with this one, but I'm gonna take the Bengals to get their first home win over the Raiders.
They haven't won at home yet.
They have not. They are 0-4 at home, which is crazy, but they got to win one at some point. I think the Raiders will make it very tough on them. Like the Bengals are a touchdown favorite. I would not be shocked if this was not a field goal type game. But I'll take the Bengals to finally get that elusive home victory. And then for
Yeah,
my
you better hope
upset,
that defense don't ham it up.
right? But that's also assuming like Minshew will have a great game. He's had some good games. He's had some terrible ones. He's unpredictable, so we don't know. For the upset, I will take. I'll tell you a game that is very tempting to take. Did you know that the Cardinals are a 2-point favorite over the Bears? Now, I know the Bears just lost in like the worst fashion possible, but the Cardinals are the most unpredictable team in the NFL. Actually, I probably need to stay away from that one.
I would too. Look, because it's like looking at thinking about that. I'm like the Bears' defense is
Yeah.
really is pretty predictable. They're pretty good. They can make Kyler look real small.
Mm-hmm. Okay, upset, upset, upset. Let's go. Browns are only a 1 point underdog against the Chargers, but I really do like the Chargers. I don't know if I could take that one. It is in Cleveland. Do I trust Jameis to have another good game?
No, I'll answer that for you. No.
I might have backed myself into a corner with the upset. Um, Seahawks over the Rams, maybe. I just think the Rams. No, yeah, I'll take that as my upset. I know a lot of people are buying into the Rams because they got Cup back, they got Puka back, but now Puka's hurt again, and the Seahawks are really teetering at this point. But I will take them to upset the Rams.
There's a reason why I picked Broncos Ravens. Because I'm like, I would love to see that happen.
Yeah, because if that happens, it's going to be an interesting Monday. The Ravens would now be what they would be 5-4 at that point. Might be some panic going on in Baltimore if that happens. So once again, to repeat our picks, Jory's going with her Titans over the Patriots. Well, Commanders over the Giants, Eagles over the Jags, and your upset being the Broncos over the Ravens. I just realized by me taking the Patriots over the Titans, that's technically an upset pick, but only because it's our two teams. I'm not counting it for that. So I'm taking the Pats over the Titans. I'm going the Lions over the Packers and the Bengals over the Raiders. And then my upset's going to be the Seahawks over the Rams. I'm banking on a good Geno Smith game. Might be crazy for expecting that, but a guy can dream, right? At this point. But yeah, so next week I'll make sure to have the graphic up with our updated record. I do believe we're like a game apart. You are in the lead. So we'll see after these 4 games how we're both doing. But that was the final topic I had. Unless you have anything you want to touch on before we get out of here, or I guess if anybody in the chat had a, I guess, question or something. But if not, like, got anything you want to add before we get out of here?
Um, Let me think. You see what happens when you change the quarterbacks to Stefanski? You see what happens? Now, granted, you weren't given a choice whether or not you wanted to change the quarterback. It had to happen. How ironic. You flip the quarterback and bam, a win. And you beat the Ravens out of everybody.
Yeah. So sometimes you got to take a risk. I mean, this wasn't technically a risk because it was forced upon them, but it's probably a sentiment to if you see that the team is floundering, sometimes it's okay to make the unpopular decision because it just may work in your favor. So yeah, I think that's great final words from Jory. I guess for me, I will just say, I think you alluded to this when you were talking about the Lakers. Can we stop the sideshow with Brodny and just let him develop? Can we please do that? It's just that simple. Because when his 2 games were opening night for the cameras, and then a game in Cleveland, because that's where they're from, it just makes it obvious that right now his intentions aren't at the forefront. So let Bronny develop, let the Lakers be the Lakers, and let JJ run it how he wants. See where the season goes. And that's coming from a Celtics fan. Like, come on now. You got me out here giving advice to the Lakers. 2024, man. It's that kind of year.
I'm over it.
See?
I've been
See,
over
Lakers,
the
look
whole
what you
Bronny
do.
saga
See what you're doing,
since.
Lakers. You got a Lakers fan that's already over it.
I've been over the whole Bronny saga since he got drafted.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's been nonstop. Bronny this, Bronny that. Ooh, look at what he did in the preseason. He scored 17 points. Wow.
Yeah.
I
So
don't
look,
mean to sound like a hater. Because I'm not.
no, you made it.
But
You made it known that you want the best for him, and right now, this doesn't seem like it's the best for him.
it's aggravating. Like you keep putting him in the limelight and he doesn't need to be in the limelight. He needs to
Yeah.
be developing. And just because the crowd shouts for Bronny doesn't mean you need to put him in the game. I wouldn't mind if he stayed in street clothes. Like,
Yeah.
oh, and can the Lakers get rid of Christie? I'm tired of him too. Already. We're 8 games in, and yeah.
Yeah. There you go. I thought that's a great way to end the show. So make sure you go ahead and give us a like. Appreciate all of you that were in the comments. So give us a like, follow, or subscribe to Integrity Sports Network. Notification bell as well. That way you'll know when not only we go live, but one of the other shows here on the network go live. Like I said, appreciate all of you. For myself and Jory, make sure to check us out on Tumblr for our Tumblr page for content there, and look out for our picks to go up on the integrity page. I think that's everything for you. So, yeah, enjoy the rest of your night. We're out of here. Make sure you come back next week for another edition of the Passion and Precision Podcast. Good night. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Enjoy the games.